Hey, it's Kaylee. You know me as the Parts Girl, and I work here at PartsEdge. Thanks for following this awesome journey as we highlight thought leaders and trailblazers, share best practices in fixed ops, and cover success stories of how dealers sell more parts and service. This is the PartsEdge podcast with Kaylee Felio.
I'm very proud. Joel has an awesome operation. It's impressive, and I'm excited that we get to share it with the world in this way and maybe inspire some parts managers that are looking to grow. And you know, that's the prize, right? Shoot for the moon and land amongst the stars. I say Joel's operation is the moon for sure.
Well,
Aw,
one thing you asked what's important too is do it the right way and do it honestly. The
yeah.
janky stuff, yeah, you might have some short-term gains, but they have long-term failures on that right there. So it's good to just run a straight operation. And if you do that, not only that, your peers respect you. We don't run into where the dealers don't want to deal with us, don't want to buy from us because we really try to run an honest operation on that. That's what's important to us.
That's huge. And that's just shows why you guys are so successful. Welcome to the podcast. This is Kaylee Felio, your host, the PartsEdge podcast, and I'm very excited to be interviewing two people on the podcast today. This is something that doesn't happen all the time, but I feel like it's such a more energizing conversation when you have a couple more people into it. So Joel with, I'm gonna butcher the name. You say it. Who are you with, Joel?
Mac Hike Ford Lincoln out of Georgetown, Texas.
Thank you. And what is your role so everyone knows?
The parts director I run the parts department here.
Everyone, so we have a parts director on the show. This is amazing. And Sheila Pogue, you helped get him on the show, which thank you so much. And who are you with?
I'm a dealer OMG. Me and Joel work together. He's a friend of mine, and I thought he'd be a really special guest for you to feature on this and offer some value for your listeners. So excited that we could connect the dots.
Yes, I am excited too. And so from what I've learned about you, Joel, is you have built a massive operation
We
with
have.
which is very impressive. So can you share just kind of how big that massive operation is?
Um, Today, we keep 9.3 million dollars just in Ford parts alone in here. I've got 3 warehouses. You combine them all together, and we got about 65,000 square foot of warehouse space. I've got 62 direct employees plus 30 plus indirect contract employees doing deliveries for us. So we just pretty good size operation. We cover all of Austin, Central Texas. We can reach out overnight all across Texas and Oklahoma, Louisiana, even parts of Arkansas on overnight deliveries from here. So we got a pretty good size operation going out.
So the one question I'm dying to ask is what inspired you to create this giant, massive operation?
I started about 33 years ago. I was aging myself wrong on something yesterday. 33 years ago when I had my first Ford position. I started at a dealer in Houston that was a decent sized dealer pulling parts and worked my way from there, started selling. And then I moved over to a really large operation in Houston. That's one of the top of the nation. And I did a lot of wholesale over there and built a really good customer base, had a lot of business coming through, and then got the opportunity to manage my own store, which is this one here. And so I kind of already had experience with working in a large wholesale operation. And I've got a lot of drive to start off with. I don't sit still very well. So, we're always got something run through my head, always trying to improve or think of bigger things. And I finally got an opportunity to run my own place to do this. And we just have slowly built it over the years or quickly, whichever way you'd like to look at it. And just always been real driven to improve and stay one step ahead of what everybody else is doing. Trying to be creative, trying to be original and not do the same thing as what everybody else does. And that's kind of what we've done to be able to grow the business.
Did you get a lot of pushback? Because it sounded like you had to find the right opportunity because you saw this opportunity to build something within your area. So I'm just curious what kind of pushback you got, if any.
I had a lot of pushback from the manufacturer. I couldn't tell you how many times that they told me I couldn't do something or I couldn't be in this program or I wasn't big enough to do this. And I was very fortunate to have a rep that a lot of times showed me how I could do certain things that Ford kept telling me I could not do. And over the years, we just kept continuing doing different programs. I get somebody tell me, no, you can't do this, or we got enough of this, or you'll never be big enough to do this. And I think all that did was add a little bit of flame to the fire for me on that, just to push forward to do something. So I couldn't tell you how many times over the years I've been told no and made a yes out of it.
That's such a even it's not even just creating wholesale, just being able to, push back a little bit. I think we all share that when someone tells us no, you're like, "You're not gonna tell me,"
Get along.
that's why we get along so well. And, to actually, like, now that I'm thinking about it, because 'cause I'm raising a six-year-old that is just like me, and it's the most difficult thing in the world because she does not accept no for it. And I don't wanna break that, but I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I said no, I'm your parent." But anyways,
Right.
um, so I wanted to okay, so I have so many questions. Sheila, do you have anything you wanna chime in before we go on to, like, anything else?
The main thing I wanted to highlight, if Joel wants to speak to it, is Kaylee, me and you have talked about how this is really rare for a parks department to have any type of marketing budget or to even be thinking in that
And then
vein,
yeah.
how to kind of expand, how to use tools to their benefit and things like that. They're usually looking at revenue, they're looking at inventory, they're looking at obsolescence, things like that. Joel, I want to ask you, why are you different in that way? How did you get so progressive thinking about if I'm gonna do this, we need to go digital. I need to invest in this. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, there's been some changes in some of the industry the last couple of years. Particularly the collision side. The insurance companies really have gotten to control so much of where the buying habits of the shops and everything are. So we've had to kind of recreate what we're doing and get our face out there so people know who we do. We got certain programs that we do that get us advertised out there. And then what you do for us kind of helps reinforce it. And then what we have people on the street helps reinforce it. So when they start seeing it, one, maybe on their estimates, two, with somebody stopping in the store, and three, when we're marketing on like Facebook or other places like that, they start seeing our name, we become recognizable. And it gives us some legitimacy. I'm trying to say the word right,
A brand
of being,
recognition. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Of who we are.
Mhm.
Because they see people come in the door all the time, try to sell them something. And they come in and see them once, never see them again. We pride ourselves at kind of going out over and over again so we can build that relationship. And, back in the day, it used to take 7 visits to earn a customer. And I think it's more about 3 visits now just because of technology changes, the way people are they want stuff done now. People don't wait, don't take time. There's a lot of instant gratification that needs to be done now. So it helps us be able to earn the business. And if they're seeing us all these different avenues, it kind of makes us recognizable. So when we go in, I think it builds a trust factor there too.
And I think that probably creates a because of the trust, there's less, what's the word? Research being done, like, because we live in such a research environment where we're like, we're gonna shop all these different prices and different ways, but when you see someone over and over again, you have this trust, you're not really shopping around in a way. I don't know, is there terminology for that? But is that I
Well,
yeah.
it's for us just getting in the door. I mean, if we ever get in the door, that's the biggest thing for us. Trust is a backup.
Mhm.
And that's how we earn the business. I mean, we sell ourselves. We don't go out there and we're not in the undercutting business is what we try not to be on. Some people got that approach, but what we try to sell is our inventory, our staff, our deliveries. There's a lot of things that we try to sell. And that's big for my outside sales rep and for my inside sales rep is guys, sell yourself, sell your inventory. So we've got the tools, we've got the inventory. You've got what you need to do your business. And it helps when we get a customer that's in town or somebody local comes by and visit our place. The best thing we can do is take them to a tour of our warehouse. Sheila has some videos that she might be able to share on that. And you walk around our facilities and you see what we have and you look at the ceilings. We got stuff going up 24, 25 feet in the ceilings or in the on the shelves there where we stock parts going all around here. And these are all automotive parts. So that helps us sell ourselves because we're actually investing in the product. When
Mhm.
people call us, we say we have it. We're not saying we get it or I got to order it. The nice thing about us is we're saying we have it.
Brag on your team a little bit, Joel, because I know that you've got BDCs that are specifically just for your parts department. Tell us a little bit about your staff.
How did you get approval for that?
Um, it actually started off with one guy that worked for me. I had a group of guys leave another dealer all at once and come to work for me, and they brought quite a bit of business with them. And it was an interesting way because they were used to an operation that treated them one way, and they come over here and they got a kind of new breath on life because we worked with them. We gave them the tools. We were very positive reinforcement. When we talked about different reports or different things we may be lacking or could improve on, it was all in a positive type manner instead of being a negative manner, which some people reinforce. And that just really doesn't do well because we find that people, when you're negatively reinforcing, they're going to do just enough to keep you off of them. But if you actually positively reinforce them, they're going to want to excel and exceed. And that's what they do here. They have just done a wonderful job when they come in, and you asked about how I started doing some of the people all across the country. Well, one of the guys I brought in was a very good guy. He's my number 2 guy out here doing a great job and, had some family things going on, and he kinda needed to move back up, to where he was from, and I went to my general manager, and I went to my IT department and said, "Hey, just an idea. Do you think we can do something like this?" And they said, we tried this with one employee that had some other family stuff. He had to move out of state and I worked for him. So let's try it out. So he's still with me today. And since then, we've worked from 1 people working out of town or out of state to 5 people working out of town or out of state. And it's allowed us to, spread it a little bit for the talent pool because, it is a talent, these salesmen out here. It is a lot of knowledge, knowing what to do, how to look up parts, how to handle a customer, what to say, what to look up, and really just follow up and caring.
Mhm.
And one thing that you can't teach people is to care. And that's huge in this business, just to actually care what's going on and want to follow up. Because there's order takers and there's actually salesmen, and I've got a lot of salesmen here, which is huge and it takes care to do that. But that's kind of how it started, and then when COVID came around, we kind of expanded that for a while. Some of them came back in after COVID, and some of them stayed back home. But it just all kind of worked out well for us.
Yeah, that's amazing. I can't believe.
Another thing I will add, he mentioned the videos. When we went out there, every single interview with one of his employees that we talked to, the first thing they said was, "I love my job so much." And they've all been there for years and years and years. And I'm talking like receivers, people that are working in the warehouse. It doesn't matter who you talk to. The first thing they said was, "I love my job. I love working for Joel. I love working here. Awesome environment." That's really speaks a lot to your leadership, Joel, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
no, we've got a great group of people here. Try not to micromanage them on that because a lot of people don't like that. Well, they know what they need to do. I've got other managers in place, and they do a good job being self-starters, and that's just huge. So you give them ideas, but a lot of them are self-starters, and that's just the important thing because we encourage them to be independent. We encourage them to come up with ideas, and that's how you continue to grow too. It just brings because it can't just be one person.
No.
That's the key.
It does take a team, and I know, like, just because Sheila's talking you up a little bit, and it's hard to, like, own that leadership, but I do think by her listening to her share how everyone just loves working there, and it's like this team and this great environment, it does go back to leadership, and I know that's for you as a leader, but other people probably involved. It's so can you share just some of the things that you feel like, other than, like, allowing people to kind of own their own, management or role, is there anything that you guys do on a regular basis that keeps everyone kind of moving? Because I feel like we all kinda get in our lane and we just, like, focus and then we don't really connect, so, like, I don't know, is there anything that you guys do other than, like, having barbecues to, like, connect?
Well, we do some of that stuff there. We'll buy lunch every once in a while, especially a busy day. We know we got a bunch of trucks coming in. We know we're going to be backed up or short staffed. We'll get lunch for them. It's just they all seem to want to do something, and eh, I don't know what to attribute that to other than just having the right people around you.
Mm.
And we got bosses that'll actually managers that'll jump in and do stuff. So it's not that they're barking orders or tell you do this or do that. They actually get in and work with you. So they show by example.
Mm.
And that's big when you get buy-in from people is, instead of being do as I say, it's do as I do.
Mm.
And that's why I think they get a lot of following on doing this. Just last year for inventory, usually I stay a lot more involved in inventory and less each year because the staff they take pride in taking it out of my hands and showing that they did it themselves. And I had a couple of ladies that really stepped up last year. And during inventory, I brought them in because I had corporate people in here and I praised them right in front of them. I said, listen, I said, the reason this inventory looks so good and you're hearing all these compliments off these counters and people doing this stuff is so these two ladies are huge. And they took it upon themselves to do all this they wanted to do. And they were in my office just today and they actually laid a sheet down of the game plan of what they want to do preparing for inventory this year. So
Yeah.
they're already working on that. And they want to make it better than they made it last year.
Oh my gosh,
It's just
that's
pride. It's just pride.
pride. Yeah. That's a
But claiming being hands off with your inventory gives me so much anxiety. Like,
I was just
as a
going to
parts manager, I couldn't
I've
having
always been that way.
I wrote
And
down how do you let go because you are a parts manager and like listening to you talk that you are not a normal parts manager. I work for one and he is like it's like pulling teeth taking stuff away from him.
well,
So
you learn over time. You got your limits, and everybody's got their limits. And as you grow, you've got to trust the people around you. And that's
Mhm.
why it's important to hire the right people around you and give them tools. I can't mention enough about the tools because I've worked at places they only gave you part of the tools you need. And if somebody needs something here, I do what I can to give them the tool. I mean, as simple as a keyboard, we got a computer issue, a printer, something with the phone, we need a table here or a desk here. I mean, just little things like that. We try to give them the tools that they need to do their job right. If we
Right.
need an order picker or like we got a scissor lift just to do things to do simple things like changing light bulbs and stuff. We just give them the things that they need out here, and I think it pays off in return. It's just having the proper equipment.
Yeah, I would say so. And it's a constant review of the process because it sounds like your team is like constantly like how can we improve together? Going back to just kind of like letting go of some of the things and trust. Um did you let it go like how do I explain this or how do I ask this question?
It
Just
took
let
some.
things go automatically or did it how long did it take? I want to know about the hard part. Like get
Well,
down to
when
the
I,
details.
if you can believe this, when I started, we had 10 people here. That was including the drivers, that was including any administrators, including the salesman, back counter guys, everything.
Wow.
Now you got close to 100 people in here.
Yeah.
So back then, I did everything back end wise. I was putting stock order in, checking stuff up, pulling parts, managing the people, doing paperwork, everything that you did there.
Mhm.
But as you grow and get busier, like I said, you can't do it all yourself. And if you do, you're going to start doing it wrong. You're going to start having issues and you're going to start having bottlenecks. And that's where you got to start training people around you. So it's not just that, hey, here you go, you figure this out and go. It is actually having people in, training them, sitting them down, reviewing the items they're doing, and just teaching them better ways to do it and also showing them ideas.
Mhm.
Hey, did you know about this or did you know about that? Um, and we that's kind of helped get that trust there. And you got certain people you do trust, and then you got some that are going to need a little direction, and you kind of have your other people to help you, or you spend time with them on that.
Mhm.
And one thing I do is I keep an open door. I've always had an open door policy. I've got to close right now just because of this, but I mean, I literally keep my door open all the time. People can walk in, we can have a discussion. If they got some question, they got a suggestion, we're always opening that stuff right there. So what I never want an employee uh, to worry about is coming into my office. And I think Sheila see that when she comes in. People come in, they ask questions, and we kind of answer them. We move forward or give them some ideas of what to do. So I think that's a huge part of letting people do that to take that ownership off of me. I'm still ultimately it is my job to run the department, and if something's going on, I'm the one that's held accountable for it.
Mhm.
But you put the right people and train them right, it helps you, and you don't worry about it as much.
That's a perfect answer. I don't
I
even
got
know
a,
what
I
I
got a
was gonna
logistics question that has nothing to do
Okay.
with anything really. With a 9.2 or $9.3 million inventory, how big are your cycle counts or bin counts?
Well, we don't do as good a cycle counts as we like to, but we are always working the bins. We turn our inventory about every 55 days. So
Oh,
it goes in and out.
So how many
Uh,
turns is that a year?
so you turn it about every 55 days, you're over 6 turns a year.
Yeah. Okay.
So on that kind of inventory there, we keep it clean. And we keep it clean. Our idle inventory stays between 1 and 1.5%. So that is huge because a lot of people battle that with idle inventory, and we do that through processes. We do put a little money away each month, and we sell it sometimes cheap. We buy it cheap and recycle that money to keep our inventory clean here. But it's always a constant process of doing it over and over again. You can't let things sit because when you sit, they get worse. So you always got to be moving forward on it.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a constant process.
it is a constant process, but we get 2 trucks in every day, every single day from Ford. So we got one that shows up early, one that shows up late, one that has all the sheet metal and big parts, another one has all the cages and small parts. But we're big enough where we actually get 2 trucks every day. And then once or twice a week, we'll get a crash truck that's just nothing but sheet metal or not sheet metal, but usually bumper covers, bumpers, lights, things like that. And then, of course, trucks all day long with FedEx. He'll come by and empty half his truck out at our place. So it's just always checking stuff in and it goes out just as quick as it comes in because we receive on one end and we ship it out on the other side. So it all just seems to kind of hit the shelf in between and go right out the other door.
Yeah, tracking everything. I was gonna what was it? Oh, what is your favorite out of your role or even like what you used to do? Like, what is your favorite thing to do as a like in your role? It's kind of a fun question, I guess.
For me, just talking to the people. I really enjoy talking to the people and our staff. And I think that's one of the reasons, like the open door, the relationship you build with them. There's a lot of people in a hire, I've had people that have been in interviews or whatever, and I've met their spouse or something else on there, just want to get to know a little bit more about them because this is such a big part of their life. I mean, they're here 45, 50 hours a week,
Mm.
so it takes a lot of their time away. So you do get to know their families over time too. So
Mm.
it's important to do that. And I enjoy just talking to people.
That's awesome. So you're not a normal parts manager. Yeah, haven't you
What's
heard
not in the parts warehouse? No, ma'am.
I go home and I don't talk as much when I get home. My wife gives me a hard time about that because by the time you go home, you're like you're talked out.
That's fair.
Exhausted.
But
I
yeah.
know.
I have a question about your internal processes. How do you balance? I know that you do predominantly wholesale for that inventory. How are you balancing that with supporting internal like deliveries, counter sales, things like that? How do you organize all of that?
Well, one thing that's a little bit difficult for us is our parts department's located 8 miles away from the main dealer. So we keep 3 trucks all day long just running parts between our locations. We've got 3 buildings and they're constantly just going back and forth from building to building.
Wow.
So, and I've also got 3 counters we're selling off of. I've got a retail counters at the front and the wholesale guys are right behind it. So those are kind of combined. And those are the facility I'm located at. And down the street at the main dealer, I've got a back counter that's at the main service drive and they're handling the quick lane, all the techs and everything else. And I've got a warehouse there. And then right across the street from it, I've got a truck shop there. So we do a lot of the bigger trucks, diesel, transmission, all back there. And I've got more parts people in there selling parts, get them out to the techs and also warehousing there. So I'm running parts between these buildings all day long. It's not necessarily the most efficient, but we do a good job just with what we're given on the facility wise. It's just tough to get all of it under one roof. It'd be nice, but we actually got a pretty good process of doing that. A lot of it has to do with electronic picking that we use. We
Mhm.
have some custom software that we've installed in here, and it does all the zones, and we use scanners with it, and it tracks who's doing what, and it also limits what they can do to prevent them from taking on too much of a load all at once. So it allows them to finish what they're doing, turn it through where it needs to go, and then start another batch of them instead of somebody grabbing 20, 30 pick tickets to walk out there and taking an hour to pull it. We kind of lower it down where they're getting 5 or 6 parts to pull. They move through those and move on to the next one. Keeps everything running efficiently.
That completely makes sense because there were so many things I wrote down and then my notes are a mess. So I just think that's amazing. How and you guys built that software or that technology?
We've got actually a guy that we know that has done some work for other people that I've worked with in the past. They got me in touch with him. We started talking about it, and he had a software packet, and we went through and had to modify it a little bit more to work with what we wanted to do.
Mhm.
So I was just talking to one of my other stores, and he has the same software, but he uses this a little bit different than what we do because we put the queues in there to limit tickets. And then, of course, we've got, 4 different zones for the different buildings, or 5 different zones actually for the different buildings. And even this building here, we split up into 3 zones just to keep people more efficient.
Mhm.
So it's nice that we can call him up and say, "Hey, I would like to do this, or we can do this," and he's pretty creative on getting this stuff going for me.
That's really cool. That's so efficient. Like, I feel like I just wanna see it. I'm so jealous that you've seen.
Come on down
Oh,
sometime.
yeah,
Sheila,
you
bring you
get
down
to
to show
tour.
you around.
Yeah. It sounds so organized. That's what I love about it. Like,
Well, like that is one key thing you could say. When I got people come in here, you go to a lot of dealers, it looks like everything's on fire. You're laughing because you understand, you've seen it. And but you come in here and everybody's just kind of doing their thing. It doesn't look like a panic, and you get the end of the day and there's $300,000 of parts that left these doors, and everybody is just walking out the door and ready to go spend time with their families or have a beer or whatever they want to do. So it's just it's neat how they work together and make things happen, and they make them happen efficiently.
yeah. I think because you're on your phone, you could probably show us your desk because there's one thing that I've always heard is a parts manager's desk is organized.
Right. Yeah, mine is actually a little bit got
I
some stuff on it.
No, but it's organized.
Yeah.
Got your piles. I'm surprised they're not neatly stacked, but that's okay.
So we've got that, and we've got also, if we can see him here. Oh, here he is. If you can see
Aw.
this.
Oh, it's a baby.
What's his name? For everyone who's not watching, there's a dog in his office, which is so cool.
Yeah, Bailey.
Bailey.
He is our emotional support dog for the department.
Yeah. That's important to have, I think.
Does
So
he retrieve parts? Is he a parts retriever?
we got him where he could put his face in the time clock. So
That's
we
important.
yeah,
Get him
we we
clocked
we
in.
we just went to a biometrics time clock about 2 months ago, and our head HR lady was here, and of course, getting everybody to buy in on it. And I told her, I said, we ought to take a picture of Bailey in the screen there and say, "Hey, if Bailey can do it, you can too." And so that's what we did. And I sent her a picture of Bailey, and you can see his face on the time clock where like he's clocking in.
Oh my gosh, I love that. How long has Bailey been with the dealership?
About 3.5 years.
Aw.
So yeah, April will be so April, so just about 3.5 years. He was a just a little bitty puppy when I brought him in here, and I bring him 3 to 4 days a week.
That's really cool. I've seen other dealerships that bring dogs in or parts departments, and I just think it just adds more, like, of a human element, I guess. It's like,
It does. You're
yeah,
you're exactly right. That's
if
what
you
it
don't like
does.
dogs or you're yeah.
Everybody plays with him. He goes out. He's got a couple of favorites out here, of course, that he sees him and he goes nuts. He's got a driver that he knows if he sees her, he's going to get a treat.
Aw.
It's just funny, but he's really good about being around people. We'll get kids come in and they'll pet him and stuff like that. But, we got doggy doors on a few of the doors here so we can stay in. It's just so he's not running out with customers and stuff all the time. Because, people are different. Some people like dogs, some people don't. Some people have had bad experiences,
Yeah.
but he's one of those dogs right there. He's gonna love you to death. That's all he's gonna do.
Aw, that's so special. I love that. I feel like we covered so much. We talked about how massive your inventory is, your great leadership and your team. Trying to think if there's anything else we want to cover. Marketing, how you're outside the box marketing. I feel like we didn't probably touch on that enough because it's just something that a lot of parts departments don't even really do. Like they're not even part of that conversation at all.
Well, we earn growth funds through Ford sometimes on that, and we also have an advertising budget we use. We try to do different things. I get different items that we think about putting together for my outside sales reps to be able to drop off and go to the shop. We put a Christmas list together every year, and we kind of look what everybody's done, and we take stuff out to them and tell them thank you. We appreciate it. We really do on that. It's a gesture from us, and we appreciate everything you've done all year long. But we actually have true people on the road. There's
Mm.
a lot of dealers that say they got an outside sales rep and they really don't have an outside sales rep. They've got a parts guy they call an outside sales rep, but he's usually inside. We actually got 3 people that are always on the road and they're knocking on doors and seeing customers. And they're also, if I've got, a challenge or a problem, they are out there seeing the customers handling it right away. They'll do ride-alongs with reps from Ford, reps from some of our softwares that we use with our sales guys that we have out here.
Wow.
So we're always doing those kind of things and marketing stuff, just physical marketing. And then we print, notepads up. Everything we got, we do. It's kind of logoed. On my desk, I've even got a nice keyboard pad that has a charging station on it, and it's got our logo and everything on it, and a picture of a new Dark Horse Mustang on it. So it's kind of neat. The kind of marketing ideas
The
we do.
merchandise. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most, if you had to say, or top couple things that you guys do that you feel works really well? I know you shared just like I love that term. I don't know if I'm like new to this, but the physical marketing, like, is that a new term or am I crazy?
That the physical marketing is huge.
Yeah.
Can't tell you how many shops we walk into. So they've been buying from somewhere for all these years and they've never once met somebody. And then they walk in the door and see that.
Not
And that is huge that we have the physical presence of it. Then we reinforce it with the online marketing. We reinforce it with a follow-up phone call. And that's what's very important. If we're going out to see a customer, we do communicate. We have a CRM tool that we use, and we can communicate back and forth in it. And we got reports that come out daily. And it's important for my guys to do a follow-up call, just to say, hey, Ryan was out here yesterday, or Pete was out here yesterday, or Trey was out here yesterday, and we just want to, I want to call and introduce myself. This is who I am. If there's anything I help you with, any questions about what we do, please let me know. Just to introduce themselves, because they've already had the cold call by the outside sales rep going in. And that's the hardest thing to do when you're going out to see somebody, is the cold call. When it gets past that, for the inside guy, then it becomes the follow-up call, which is easier to do because you have something to talk about.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, the marketing is something that's the soft marketing that you see, because it's something that's in the background that pops up that you see, and then you start recognizing us. And the big thing is just that reinforcement, the recognition.
And I'll speak to the strategy for his digital
Thank you.
aspect.
I was gonna ask,
Definitely.
what is Dealer OMG doing for you? We have to like
So
talk to you guys
many
up.
after many conversations with Joel about his outfit out there, we realized how he was trying to make better penetration in his DMA. He had all of the pieces in place. He was ready for, an influx of volume. He just didn't have the digital presence yet. So we used custom targeting with geos. The three gentlemen he mentioned, he has broken out into regions like you do when you have outside sales. And we got actual custom messaging from them, just like what he's saying, where we got video of those people saying, hi, you can call me anytime for any Ford parts, I'll be out here multiple times a week, any time of day. You want to shoot me a question, I will help you. And then we got that into their DMA for, one-to-many messaging. So we just kind of amplified what he was already doing at a very, very large scale. And it has worked like gangbusters from what I understand.
We had a lot of fun with it. We laughed a lot. We had a lot of fun. We got creative. So it was definitely interesting. I got some people that are camera shy, but the ones that did, and you got ones that say, I'm not going to look good on this right here. And then you look back at it and say, man, you did awesome. My Pat, which is my manager here, same thing on something he did recently. He said, man, that was horrible. And then I got the playback of it. It's like, wow. I said, Pat, you were right on this right here. I said, I don't know why you were concerned about that. So
We're
it's
our
just,
toughest critics. But
well, exactly right.
yeah, but I think that's so cool. It wasn't just you guys added the humans to it. You added the people that are actually out there and help them create content, and almost it sounds like their own brand because their own message, right? But then also it ties into you guys as a whole. I think that's the biggest struggle for a lot of larger companies is like letting their people kind of have their own brand and their own
Well,
following
i-
in a way.
in this business, it's relationships.
Yeah, it is.
There's certain things that direct stuff other ways, but a lot of it's about relationships. And that's why I always believe it's not necessarily Mac High's customer, it's Tony's customer, it's Chris' customer, or it's David's customer, because they're the ones that are talking to him all the time. They're the ones that got the relationship with him. They're the ones that they depend on. And that's where that comes into fact when you have the right people in here.
Yeah.
So it's just that's what makes the business.
Is there anything that you can share that, I don't know if this question's too, like, deep, but, like, as far as because you let your people kind of have their own business, but as a company and as you guys grow, can you speak to how you reward people in way like, how do you guys keep up with that? Because that's the one thing I heard is people come like, when they leave, their people come with them. So you could lose these people, and they will probably take those people with them. So how do
Well,
you keep
you
up with that? I don't know.
you treat them right, treat them with respect.
Mhm.
You work with them. you do positive reinforcement on stuff there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Like I said, we have conversations. We all get along well. It's that's the big part of it's just really treating them. I mean, they got certain benefits, they're all commissioned here for at least the salesman wise.
Yeah.
And I've worked on group deals, I've worked on individual deals. We're an individual over here, and but they all work together as a team, even though they're individual commission. That allows them to the harder they work, the more they make.
Yeah.
So they're able to reap the rewards of their investment. If they want to make this much, they're going to make this much. If they want to make this much, they're going to, they work hard for it to get it in and they deserve it. So
Yeah. And
that
then
helps.
do you guys have like a company goal is like if you guys hit these certain growth metrics, they get like a bonus or
Well,
that
we
can you
don't.
share that? I don't know if that's a question I can ask.
We don't really on that, but it was interesting. I've had some people discussing that within the company about some different ideas of what to put out there to maybe have some things to reach for.
Mm.
So yeah, that has been kind of some different discussions. We do things from time to time for people. Just like I talked about the couple of ladies that were in here does such a good job at inventory. I not only praised them with that, I actually had them write them a bonus check for the extra effort they put in there. And to see that, and one of the ladies, she was just in tears just because when you gave that to her, they're not always used to somebody doing something a little extra for them.
Yeah.
Because so many people just get expectations and don't do the extra for them when they deserve it.
Mhm. That's amazing. I think that's a good place to kind of end because I think that is just by seeing that and rewarding people, that just doesn't happen very often. And the fact that you have people going out of their way to improve process and you're taking that extra step to appreciate them, I think everyone should probably hear that and act on that too. I don't know.
Yeah. No, and like I said, I think my employees know, and if they watch this, I just want them to know how much I appreciate what they do because it's not about me, it's about them. It's what they do.
Oh, that's awesome. You have a good family over there. Is there anything you want to add, Sheila, as we wrap up?
I think my only other question is if Joel can hit us with some wisdom, if there's anything that we didn't mention that would benefit a young parts manager that's trying to get their feet under them, trying to build something, their GM's breathing down their neck about revenue, or they don't really know how to expand. What words of advice would you give these people?
You got to ask a lot of questions. And the when I started, the GM I had was pretty tough. And what I learned right off the bat was before I went in his office, what do you want to discuss? So when I went in there, I was actually prepared and can give a knowledgeable answer. And I've been in meetings over the years with, corporate, with Ford, things like that. And there's nothing worse than somebody not giving you a confident or knowledgeable answer. And you try to be prepared when you do anything. And it's okay not to know. Because believe me, when I took this job 18 years ago, I realized how much I didn't know. And I depended on the people around me. I was very fortunate. My previous manager become a mentor and he answered calls for me. He gave me direction on things. And oddly enough, we've kept that relationship over the years. His son runs my delivery company for me for the contract. So those are the kind of relationships
That's
you build.
wonderful.
That's so
And, but he was always a mentor to me, and I've worked for some good managers. I've had some that have been kind of okay. And you kind of look at when you've worked for people over the years, what do you like, what you don't like?
Mhm.
You look back on that, and if you really don't like something, why would you do it yourself?
Yeah.
And always have your people's back. And that is huge because you get customers push you, you get owners push you, you get GMs push you, but you've got to stand behind your people. You got to hold them accountable, but you have to stand behind them and show them that, hey, you did a great job or you were right in doing this.
Mhm. That was the perfect question. You're hired, Sheila. I think I tell you that all the time, you're hired. If you can be a
Let's co-host.
co-host with me, oh my gosh, so that was fun. It's helpful too, because it's like I'm always so overwhelmed by the information I'm getting that I like you should see I'm an organized person, but my notes are just scribbles. And I'm just like, "Oh yeah, ask this. Oh yeah." Because I don't wanna just go down like, we didn't talk about anything that I planned on, but that's okay.
Sorry to
Did
get
you
you off
stuff Quirks? Did you want to ask anything else about like the wholesale conversion? Because that wasn't always his bag, that there was, did you go through like a go-to launch thing when you went to wholesale? You want to talk about that process at all?
We talked a little bit about the pushback, but yeah, you're right, we didn't go into that
Well,
more.
originally it become what they called a CPWD, a certified parts wholesaling dealer. You had to have 30% of your business was wholesale to be a CPWD. Um, they kept telling me I didn't have enough there, but what the kicker was, if you have an in-house body shop, those sales count towards your commission or towards your percentage.
Mhm.
So when I added my body shop in there, I was over 30% wholesale. So that's where I got my step in the door. And then we started just doing our backyard. And then we started doing a little bit north of us. It wasn't necessarily getting service. So we kind of did one little area at a time and just pushed that a little bit. And what we did was we tried to own an area before we moved on to the next area.
Mm.
We had big future thoughts, but we had to start small and build it by pieces. Because, we've got 18 routes around the city now, but we didn't always have 18 routes running around the city. It just depended on how we expanded the business and what we had to do. So you just start in pieces, and you set yourself a growth number every year that you want to meet, and you get yourself a reasonable number, and then you give them a reach number that you want to look at there. And that's what you got to look for every year. And it's not going to be perfect every year. I think in 18 years, I've had 2 years I've went backwards just a hair, but never very much. But those 2 years I've had, those have been transition years,
Mm.
transition new buildings.
Oh.
So you're going through a move, you got the stuff going through there, even the COVID year, we'd step back just a hair. Um, um, and we actually did well that year, fortunately, because we invested in our people at that point.
Mhm. Well,
A lot Go ahead.
oh, no, you finish. Sorry. What were you gonna say?
No, back in COVID, it was huge because the knee-jerk reaction was everybody, you know what? We need to cut expenses. They lay half their staff off.
Mhm.
I went to our people at Mac Hike and said, "Hey, what does Mac want to do?" And the answer I got on that was, "We want to watch expenses, but we will. Good talent is so hard to find. You don't want to lose it.
No.
So you work with the people and see what you can do, and just kind of keep an eye on things, and we'll just go from there." And I went back to my staff, and at that point, we kind of went to a 4-day work week, and we cut a little bit doing that, but everybody kept their benefits, everybody was working, and I think that did a lot for the people is that we were still investing in them and not doing what they were hearing on the news, everybody else layoffs or getting terminated or whatever
We
else.
furloughed like 7 people when I was a parts manager during COVID as well, and that's really, really noble and admirable that y'all protected your people that way.
Mhm.
We did, and we got very lucky because the March when it started, we were having an amazing month. So even though March had shut down, we still were up year over year.
Mhm.
And then, April, we were down like 25%. And then May, uh, we had a hailstorm hit, a really big hailstorm. And we were down about 16% because it happened towards the end of the month. And then we go up in June, we were up 25% year over year. And part of it was the hail, but part of it was all these dealers stopped delivering. They got rid of their people, so nobody was answering phones. So we ended up picking up a lot of business that we never had before because we were actually there to still help the customer.
Yeah, the ones that kept their people,
Yes.
they're the ones that are up year after year, and they're the ones that are way ahead right now.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we stayed ahead of the game and we made a big jump then. And we weren't even down that year. Um, so that was it. I mean, last year we dealt with the CDK outage. Boy, that was a lot of fun. So, that kind of hurt us a little bit there. And, but, we come back stronger afterwards there. It's just for you learn off of it. And what's funny is we're running all these parts out of here. We're usually printing 1,400 tickets a day, and we're having to handwrite these things or we're doing them on a spreadsheet. So it
And
was definitely an interesting operation.
that was like, how long was that? Almost a month, right?
We were
It was
down at least 2 weeks
2 weeks.
for the basic system. But all the third-party software that plug into it that we used, most of that stuff was down for almost a month after that before we finally got all of it back up.
Yeah.
So it was definitely interesting getting all your pieces working again, your locators, your connection with the manufacturer so you can actually process orders and all that stuff right there. Everything become a manual task at that point.
Do you feel like, uh, going through that, you were able to tighten up some things and process? Because like, as you're turning things back on, you could probably find little broken process bottlenecks or process or
You know, we got creative and know what to do if we have an issue, I guess. As in the processes, not so much on that right there. I think we also learned we actually learned a few things what to do if we were down of how to actually print an inventory pad, things like that. Because we're like, how do we know where everything is? Because we had no DMS system.
Yeah.
Well, Ford has RIM, so we actually got a RIM. We were able to pull a report out of that, and it actually had all of our bin locations on it. So we may not know how many we had on the shelf. So everybody was turning tickets into it or manually doing it. Now, I did learn something about package quantities with Ford, because when the DMS orders it, if it's a package of 300 and you order one, it's going to send you 300. Or if you order 10, it's still going to send you 300. But if you manually order it, if you order 10, it's going to send you 10 packages of 300.
Oh,
So I learned that the hard way.
oh man.
And Ford took care of me on that. They did a return for me.
Good.
But I had a whole cage just full of rivets that showed up.
Whoops. That's okay. All right. So I think we've covered everything. This is like such an insightful conversation. I'm so glad that you came on the show. It's really hard to get some parts managers to join. So hopefully listening to you more will be inspired to share their stories, because it's just that's how we all learn.
No, we've had a great story here, so I don't mind sharing it. Like I said, it's she talked about the people I want to do. I love what I do too. So it keeps me excited, keeps me interested. It's just always something changing and new. So I'm, even though I'm getting a little bit older, I still love the change. I still love the fight to learn something new all the time.
That's awesome. Do you want to add anything as we say goodbye?